Hey everyone. So I don't know how to explain this one, but I've just filmed a Halloween video for ASMR in August, trying to get pre-ahead in case if like I ever have like a what do they call them? Like an episode where I can't do anything because I have a medical condition. So yeah, I wanted to bulk everything, record super early, which is why if anyone's wondering what the fuck are these gems are about, it's to do with that video, and it's to do with the Hello Kitty reading a Halloween themed book. But we have 2 chapters left of this one, and it's not my copy, it's the library, so I kind of wanted to get this one finished in, I think, 3 episodes. So yeah, so if you're wondering what's with all the weird makeup, gems, kind of glitzy, really dark, it's to do with Halloween. So that's why. So we are reading Hello Kitty, The Big Bake Off, Hello Kitty and Friends series. So sorry, I didn't mean we had 2 more chapters. I mean we have 3 more chapters. So yeah, this is The Big Bake Off, Hello Kitty, episode 3, I think. But this is, I'll get straight into it. This is chapter 4. Let me see if I can just get the book in the video. It'd be nice to have a break. Okay, so chapter 4, A New Friend. Hello Kitty got up and started peering around the trees. She gasped when she saw 2 little dark eyes looking at her anxiously from the shadows. It was a puppy with a chocolate brown coat and darker brown. And the little puppy is in there because you get like little pictures. Here's just a full page of Hello Kitty bumping into the dog. Okay. Markins. He was very small and very cute, but he looked scared. He couldn't be more than a few months old. He was wearing a smart red collar that had a lead trailing from the end of it. Poor little thing, he must have lost his owner. Hello Kitty walked slowly towards him, but the little puppy backed away. Hello Kitty stopped and thought hard. She didn't want him to run off. If only she could get the lead, she could catch him, but how could she do that when she couldn't get close enough? If only she had some treats in her bag, but all she had was her pen, notebook, cardigan, and the little flower pots. And for like each page, there's like little cupcakes at the top. Maybe they would work. She knew puppies were usually very curious. He might want to see what they were. She took the flower pots and some pens out of her bag and scattered them on the ground. Then she knelt down beside them and held still. The puppy looked puzzled, still a little bit nervous, but definitely interested. He sniffed the air and took one step forward. Hello, Kitty mumbled encouragement to him under her breath and put her hand out gently. He started moving forward, his nose twitching curiously. 1 step, 2 steps, until finally he reached the pots and pens and started sniffing them. Hello Kitty reached out and took hold of his lead. He started sniffing her hand, then climbed onto her knee and licked her face as if he was saying he wanted to be her friend. She stroked him. He was so cute. His owner must be really missing him. She picked him up and looked around. What should she do now? She didn't want to leave the trees after she had promised Mama she would stay there. Hopefully she would come back soon and know what to do. But just then, Hello Kitty saw one of the festival helpers walking by. The lady was wearing the festival uniform of a blue and yellow polo shirt, and she was selling information programs to people. Hello Kitty called out to her and the lady came over. Was Hello Kitty okay? Was she lost? Hello Kitty held up the puppy. She wasn't lost, but he was. The lady gasped, but then she smiled. She told a Hello Kitty that a family had reported a missing puppy just half an hour ago. It must be the same one. She would go and have an announcement put out over the loudspeaker so the owners could come and find him. Hello Kitty explained that she had promised Mama she would stay by the tree so she wouldn't be able to come with her, so the lady nodded. It was very sensible of Hello Kitty not to go away from where her parents had left her. She said that she would take the puppy with her to the announcement tent and reach out for him, but the puppy didn't want to go with her. He kept cuddling down further and further into Hello Kitty's arms. The lady laughed. Hello Kitty had obviously made a new friend. Maybe it would be best if she went to make the announcement without the puppy. Would Hello Kitty be okay to wait there with him until she got back? Hello Kitty nodded. That was fine with her. The lady hurried off. The puppy squirmed in Hello Kitty's arms. He wanted to get down. She put him on the grass but held onto the lead tightly. He pulled her back to the plant pots and started sniffing and pawing at them. Hello Kitty crouched down beside him. 1, 2, and up. The puppy climbed up into one of the pots, his legs waving. He wiggled round and peered out over the top. Hello Kitty laughed. He looked adorable with his head popping out. All that you could see was his little nose, ears and mouth. Gently, Hello Kitty helped him out and began playing with the pots with him. They had a lovely time together. After a while, Mama came back to check on Hello Kitty. She was very surprised to see the puppy, but pleased with Hello Kitty for having done the right thing by staying where she was and telling an official. She sat down and played with the puppy too, and he showed off his trick of climbing into the plant pot. Mama White chuckled. He really did look very cute. 15 minutes later, the festival helper and a little boy and another lady came hurrying over to the tree. They must be his owners. They bent down to pick him up and gave him a hug as the little puppy's tail wagged furiously. The boy and his mother had been so worried about the missing puppy. They thanked Hello Kitty for taking care of him and told her that his name was Basil. For one awful moment they thought they'd lost him forever. But here he was, safe and sound. Hello Kitty gave Basil one last pat and said that it had been no trouble at all looking after him. She always liked making new friends, whether they were human or animal. Everyone smiled at each other, and the boy hugged the puppy tightly. And they turned to go. Mama White checked on her watch. Oh dear, they had lost track of time. They had better get going and find Minnie and Papa straight away. The baking workshop was about to start. I don't know why I said barking instead of baking. Okay, so I think we have 2 more chapters to go. Chapter 5, Bake Off Time. Mama and Hello Kitty hurried across the park, waving in and out of all the people. Hello Kitty realised she still hadn't thought of a cake, but at least she helped Basil find his family. That was far more important. They reached the big tent to find the rest of the Friendship Club already there, as well as Minnie and Papa. The parents all helped the children to sign in for the competition and said that they would come back at 4 o'clock to collect them, just in time for the picnic. As they waved goodbye to their parents and headed into the tent, Hello Kitty told her friends all about Basil. They thought it sounded very exciting and that the puppy sounded really cute. If only they'd been able to meet him too. There were 2 people running the workshop, Molly and James, who handed out white aprons and big chef hats for them all to put on. Soon, everyone was making sandwiches with freshly baked bread, perfect puffy sausage rolls, mini quiches and yummy scones, along with big jugs of fruit punch. Everything for the perfect picnic. At least it was time to make their cakes. Molly and James asked what everyone was going to do. They nodded at people for them to call out their ideas. One girl announced that she was going to make a robot cake, and another put in that she would be making a chocolate cornflake cakes. Molly explained that all of the basic ingredients would be there for them, but they should have bought the finishing touches to decorate them from home. Not everyone nodded, they all knew that. Dear Daniel produced his licorice and fruit drops, and Fifi got out some cute little model skaters to put on her cupcakes. Tammy had crafted a cute yellow bookworm at home out of pom-poms and pipe cleaners ready to pop on the top of her book-shaped cake. But Hello Kitty didn't have any special ingredients. She would just be making her white chocolate and raspberry cake. Although maybe she could do it in one of the different shaped tins, or decorate it in some way to make it stand out. Suddenly a light bulb went off in Hello Kitty's head. She might have thought she didn't have an idea, but one had actually popped into her head just that very second. It was to do with the puppy and the flower pots. Perhaps she didn't need any special ingredients after all. Instead of baking her cake in a boring round cake tin like usual, she would just split the mixture and bake it in the 3 flower pots. The cakes would rise while they were cooking, and then she could decorate the rounded tops by making the eyes and nose and ears out of the icing. If her idea worked, the cakes would look like they were puppies peering out of the pots. Hello Kitty hurried over to explain her idea to Molly and James. She asked them if it would be safe to put the pots in the oven, and they said that they didn't see why not. If the clay of the pots was terracotta, they would be oven proof and a lovely fresh way to present a cake. If she had the pots, they had all the ingredients that she would need to ice them. Hello Kitty took the flower pots over to the sink to give them a wash and a scrub as everyone set to work. Soon the tent was a hive of activity, with everyone measuring and stirring. Here are some more pictures. And sifting and pouring, all of the cakes went into the ovens, and then all the bakers helped to clean up. They tidied and put away just as they finished washing up. The cakes were ready to take out of the oven. Once they had cooked, they were ready to ice, and 30 minutes later the class stood back to admire their work. So you can see in detail all of the cakes. And here's some pictures of them. The Friendship Club had done brilliantly. They had all such different ideas, but their cakes all looked really super. Dear Daniel's spider cake was a bit messy, but the thick chocolate icing looked delicious. Fifi's ice skating cupcakes looked very pretty with the ice skaters on top, and Tammy's sponge bookworm cake was admired as a real work of art. Tammy had even written the book title on the cover. The bookworm was very cute. Hello Kitty congratulated all her friends and then looked at her own flower pot cake. She was very pleased they had turned out just as she had hoped, and they seemed to make everyone smile. They especially made her smile because they reminded her of a very special puppy. There was just one question left: who was going to win? Chapter 6: Starbakes. The picnic rugs were spread out, the place was set, and little fairy lights lit up the inside of the big tent. The picnic was ready to begin. Molly and James brought out the platters of food. The Friendship Club were joined by their parents, and they all started to fill their plates. There were so many treats and lovely things to eat, as well as the sandwiches, rolls, quiches, and that bakers had made. Molly and James were putting pizzas in the clay oven. How would they ever get through it all? James and Hello Kitty and her friends that if any food was left, it could be taken home to eat. Mama White was still talking excitedly about the different cheeses she had tried when they sat down. Hello Kitty wasn't sure who had more fun, her mother or Papa White, who couldn't stop talking about his cider pressing, but at least a contented silence filled the tent and everyone started munching on their food. Hello Kitty was surprised when they finished and only a few crumbs were left on the plates. She had felt sure that they'd never be able to eat it all, but James explained that it happened every year. They always said that if there was anything left over, it could be taken home, but there never was. And now, since everyone had finished eating, Molly and James moved to the front of the tent. It was time for the winner of the most original cake to be announced. Everyone in the tent hushed as Molly stood up to make her speech. She announced in a loud voice that all of those who had taken part were all-star bakers in her eyes, and that everyone would be getting a signed certificate for that. But in third place, a girl with strawberry blonde hair and a face full of freckles was called up for her robot cake. As everyone clapped, the girl grinned and went to collect her ribbon. In second place, everyone in the tent hushed again. It was Tammy for her bookworm cake. Hooray! The Friendship Club let out a loud cheer as Tammy stood and took her ribbon. And then in first place, Molly was silent for a few moments before she started to speak. In first place was Hello Kitty. Flower Pot's cakes had been a hit with everyone. They did not only look very cute, but they had tasted amazing too. There she is in first place. The Friendship Club gave Hello Kitty an extra loud cheer as she blushed and went up to get her shiny silver cup. Hello Kitty didn't think she could have felt prouder as she held it in her hands and everybody clapped. She was presented with a red ribbon. As well as that, she pinned it to her chest. Who would have thought it? Just that morning she still hadn't even had an idea of what she was going to bake. If she hadn't bumped into that puppy, she never would have known. The puppy at that moment, a loud shot rang out. Around the tent, everyone looked up as a woman and a boy raced in, chasing a little brown flesh of colour that was racing towards the front. It was Basil. The little sausage dog threw himself at Hello Kitty and gave her a massive lick. Hello Kitty smiled and gave him an extra big hug. Basil's lead was trailing behind him, so Hello Kitty made a grab for it and handed it back to the little boy. He smiled and thanked her, and his mama said she was glad that Basil had made such a good friend, even if they were going to have to do a lot of work with the puppy training. If they were going to get him under control, everyone laughed and Hello Kitty giggled and smiled. It was always good to make new friends. Hello Kitty felt a fizz of happiness flood through her. It had been a brilliant day, a day full of fun and adventure. She thought she called it for a brand new friendship club motto. New friends, like good ideas, sometimes they turn up when you least expect them. She shouldn't wait to tell her friends, but the day wasn't over yet. There was still the rest of the food festival to look around, and they definitely needed to have a go on the bouncy castle. Hello Kitty looked around at her friends and grinned. It was time to go and play. Super. The end. Good night.